Hey everybody, Jonathan Broadbent here. It is Tuesday, November 21st. We're edging closer to Thanksgiving. I hope you have terrific plans lined up for your family and whoever is special to you around you for this Thanksgiving week. Today, we're going to talk about how we organize, order, and structure our lives. So it is, let's be honest, it left to our own, we'd much rather just sort of hang out and watch cool shows on TV, maybe see some live bands and enjoy ourselves, those kinds of things. Um, and it can be really tempting to sort of hand over the reins of important things in our lives to other people. And I don't fault anybody that wants to do that, but that can come back and bite us a little bit. And we've seen some of that over the last couple of years. I think there's been a great awakening. Forgive me, I'm going to delve a little bit into the world of K through 12 education because that's kind of near and dear to me and I spend a lot of time there. But trust me, there are parallels, and I'm going to bring this back around to finance. In case you don't also know this, in addition to UnWoke, I am a chair and territory lead of something called Protect Ohio Children. Protect Ohio Children is a statewide grassroots organization helping to encourage communities to look into the issues in their schools. So we want to get communities looking at everything from curriculum and academics to hiring practices, their academic proficiency results as reported by state testing, those kinds of things. And in that world, there's been I'm just going to call it an awakening over the whole COVID thing. Before that, there's been kind of a hands-off. A lot of parents and grandparents, families, communities have just been sort of hands off. They've been, put the kid on the yellow bus, and then your kid comes off the yellow bus, and life is good. And then COVID hit, and people started really paying attention to what's happening and what their kids are being subjected to via that online curriculum, and it was a major awakening. In a similar way, the people with our finances, we have these cool, easy apps. I have them too. I see them all the time. These apps that come with our bank account and they come online. They're quote unquote free, that allow our financial lives to be easier and more hands off. Investments work the same way. And there are investment firms out there. And I mentioned in a previous podcast, there is a company that I've done a lot of work with through the years that some years ago did this major announcement to other financial professionals like me that they were working with, that they had spent $100 million on a postcard campaign because they figured out that they could get people to act a certain way. So, and there are all kinds of studies that routinely go on about behaviors and how to get people to do certain things and behave certain ways. And probably chief among them is the idea that these financial organizations, these financial institutions are going to give you this, it's easy. By the way, if that sounds specifically like any particular company out there, that's incidental. I'm just using that term in the general pejorative. So these firms want to make it feel like, hey, this is some cool, super cool, easy thing. Here's an app, you push a button, and the next month is taken care of, and people are going to move your money around. Or there are like these cool charts that shoot up and down. And if you're into that thing, you can go in and look at these charts that move around and click the trading buttons. That's influence. And they're trying to get the impression into your mind that all you need to do is trust them. Seeing where I'm headed with this, there's a clear parallel. Our politicians, our financial institutions, our institutions of education, there is this sort of mandate. There's this edict, like, you are supposed to shut up and trust them. I'm sorry for the harsh language, but That's the thing. That's the thing that they're trying to sell you. Be quiet, don't ask questions, and trust us. And if you do ask questions of your politician, of your school board, of your financial institution, usually actually that's me. I'm the one out there pushing and asking questions here of financial institutions, but I hope that you do as well. And if you sense that they're like balking, why would you ask us questions? You're supposed to just give us all your money and be quiet. Then you have a pretty clear sign that you may be headed down a bad path with that financial institution. Maybe look for another person or another firm, because here's what it looks like at the end of the day. When you have, I mean, these are top down, hierarchical, these are totalitarian dictatorship types of structures. And those thrive on presenting you with the idea that they are there to make your life easier. Maybe they are, but they are there first and foremost to influence your life and your finances and make money off of you. A little bit is fine. It makes sense. They need to make something. They're a business. But some of these organizations, and I used to do this thing years ago, people would talk about organizational charts and the old thing about pyramid sales. Well, I used to sort of combine this to this visual. And I've seen these types of companies. Trust me, I've seen them. But I used to draw these. I would draw this huge, long, weird, like massive triangle, and I would talk about, you want to see triangular pyramid sales kind of thing, and a broken organizational structure and top-down hierarchy. Look at this. And I would draw this massive, big, long triangle, and I would draw these little sort of these lines and talk about how the people that they're interacting with are probably at or near the bottom of that triangle. And maybe, who knows, let's just use round numbers. Maybe that person makes $200,000 a year. And then the person above them, their direct supervisor or whatever, maybe they make $700,000 a year. And then there's like sort of an office manager type who may make $1.4 to $1.6 million per year. And then there's a regional director who maybe that person makes 2.5 to 5 million a year, all the way up to the top. And there's one that I typically use as an example. There was the chairman of one of those massive companies, and it is one of those major companies that we talk about a lot in UnWoke. The CEO or chairman, whatever his title was, did something to upset some people and was kicked out. On his way out, leaving, he had a contract that paid him something like $87 million on departure. So that was one of those head scratcher, like, that's why don't we balk at that sort of thing more often? Because this is somebody that did some bad stuff that people didn't like, and like they gave him the boot, and it's like, well, here's the boot, and oh, we're going to give you this $87 million on your way out. My point behind that is that compensation structure is way broken. It's ridiculous. What you should have is a lot more transparency, so you know who's getting paid off of your life, your livelihood, your wages that you're putting into these firms. And also, it's a clear indication that as they're working really hard to capture your attention and focus and tell you, all you need to come here and we're going to make life beautiful and good for you. And they have commercials of like people walking on the beach and sailboats floating by and puffy white clouds and stuff. And that's to create this illusion that if you're only there, get there and then life will be good. You can't have it both ways. You can't have that massive pyramid of people getting paid more and more and more and more and more all the way up to the top. And there's like 20 layers of bureaucracy and massive employees and that sort of thing. You can't have that and also have them really working toward your best interest. They will do their best to make the appearance of that, but that's really not the way that life works. So it's the appearance of good. It's the appearance of providing good and valuable service and resources to you. And again, to draw that parallel, you've got politicians doing very much the same thing. Well, gosh, I'm sorry that my whole territory and my district that I cover is all dirt poor. And oh, if only we pass this next bill the next cycle, and we're going to create this resolution, and that's really going to fix things for people. And over the last 80 years, they've been getting poorer and poorer and poorer. But really, that next piece of legislation, that's really about to do it. Meanwhile, you look at them, and there's one recently. I think it was AOC. AOC has been in office. She's been in Congress for a couple of years, and I think there was a post that she made recently talking about the $17 million that she's made since going into office. And I think that's a lot of them. There are these people that get in, they're supposed to be public servants, and they're creating this never-ending, perpetuating impression that they're any day now, they're really going to get to work. And so, gosh, I'm really sorry, constituents. These circumstances are really tough, but stay with me. And same thing with schools. Schools were like, if only that next thing comes in, if only that next new Common Core math, or with the next levy, once we are at $30,000 per student per year, once we hit that threshold, really, then we're really going to get around to that whole education thing and instructing and teaching the children. And in finance, it's the same thing. When you have layers of people that are sucking off like 1, 2, 3% in total of your investment value, even when it goes negative, that means that however negative the markets go or your investments, they're taking more beyond that. Those are all things that should be fought. And at UnWoke, a big part of what we talk about is not just where those investments fall or where the manager falls on that spectrum of the opaque, murky, weird, hard to see, virtue signaling kind of leftist investment philosophies, and the neutral investment philosophies, and those that appeal to the more conservative right. But beyond that, it's also discussion of the fees, fee structures, how they work, who gets paid, when they get paid, how you should be in the driver's seat of making determinations and understanding that stuff. So for real, when I'm telling you, when I give you this stuff like pointers, here's how mutual funds work, and here's where to go to figure out mutual fund fees, often referred to as an expense ratio. When I'm telling you that stuff, trust me, it's not going to happen overnight. If you're just a regular, ordinary, average person, a lot of what I'm discussing will seem strange and difficult to grasp. It did to me years ago when I first started studying this stuff. So trust me, you're not alone. And it's designed to be that way. It's designed to be opaque and difficult to understand with a lot of weird terminology and stuff. But trust me, stick with it. Keep talking about it. Keep listening to these. Keep going online and doing research. Because when you look, I'm going to use 401k as an example. So in a 401k plan, you've got all kinds of different layers of fees. And now, finally, as of July 2012, there is what's called a fee disclosure statement that comes to you. And you probably see those, and it's got a breakdown of who gets paid and what and how much. By the way, I can't help it. I have to throw in a side note. For anybody out there that works in human resources, payroll, legal, accounting, or if you run a small business, remember that these fees that I'm talking about, the fees that I'm about to describe, that are all layers of your 401k fee structure, There's no requirement that those come out of the retirement plan. Those can be paid directly, almost without exception. So a lot of the stuff that are fees that are eroding the performance and value can be put onto a line item and paid directly. Years ago, kind of an early claim to fame for a group that I run, I created something called fee-based 401k, and with that fee-based 403b and a whole bunch of other things. And what that did is made some people in the world of finance squirm and get uncomfortable because I'll tell you, they love to have the fees hidden. Just like education liked to have your kids in the classroom and not online, where you could actually see what was happening and what was entering your children's minds. But they love to have the fees kind of buried in these weird sort of opaque algorithms and descriptions. There are these charts, and trust me, I mean, even for me, a lot of times they're kind of hard to figure out who's getting paid, etc. But if you're a small business owner or involved in the administration of business or the ongoing running of a workplace retirement plan, remember, you can line item those fees and get them out of the plan. If you're an employee, go advocate for that. Go into your HR office, take a look at this stuff. I think I've got a bunch of things up on. So fee-based, all of those different fee-based brands became plan partners. You can go to my website. It's planpartners.net, planpartners.net. You'll find lots of stuff on there that talks about fees, fee structure, how to handle them, and there are better ways of doing it that also strip out a lot of the conflicts of interest. But I'm off on a tangent. Getting back to how we shape and order our lives, wouldn't it be great? And I don't believe I'm asking too much, or I'm suggesting a different course for all these important topics in our lives. When it comes to the politicians, take some time, jump online, do a little research, and look into, heck, it can actually be pretty quick and easy these days. We get social media and stuff. Look at their profiles and see if their values align with yours. And with schools and education, no, you should not be one of those people that is afraid to go in and ask me. School, easy for me to say. You should not be one of those people that goes in and is afraid to ask questions in a school board meeting. For goodness sakes, they're your school board. You're paying them through your local taxes, and your children's literacy, math skills, education, and future depend on it. So goodness gracious, go in and ask those questions. And the same thing with medicine. I didn't even use the medicine metaphor. I'm sorry. This one's kind of a little all over the place, but at the core, I hope you really follow this. It comes down to our ability, our compunction, and the intelligence that we have to start asking questions about what's being done on supposedly on our behalf. So just like you would ask, hopefully more detailed questions now that we know there are some major issues taking place between the connection between healthcare and pharmaceutical. And in very similar fashion, all these big financial firms that are out there that are trying to convince you that it's perfectly wonderful and normal and nice, that they have investment managers, they offer mutual funds, they do payroll, they have a web-based service, and they have an app, and they offer like everything that you want in your financial life, and they make great efforts to convince you that they have the golden tower, and the Wall Street type of name and all this sort of panache and everything. Be skeptical. I think that's the key takeaway from today's call and all these arenas. Be skeptical. get in front of and take a deep dive, even periodically, um, with your family and your community into what's happening in those K through 12 schools, what's happening in your local hospitals and the doctor that you work with, what's happening with your politicians, and what's happening with your finances and your wallet. Because it's not enough to send that money off via your payroll deduction, each paycheck into your 401k plan, and then hope for the best. We already know, and I believe I've proven now beyond shadow of a doubt, that the overwhelming majority of managers out there, mutual fund managers and exchange traded funds, the people that you're finding as options within your 401k plan, they're funneling stuff into the far left companies and causes. Um, but beyond that, there are all kinds of things that these companies are doing in order to lure you in and make more money, not just on woke, but on fees, expenses, hidden charges, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I know it's kind of a rabbit hole, but I mean it's your money and it's your financial future. And hopefully over time we have a bunch of these unwoke types of conversations, and I keep posting things like the stuff that I just did over the last few days on the companies that are attacking Elon Musk and Twitter/X. And over time, some of it hopefully clicks, becomes easier, and you are able to go unwoke. Thanks for listening. My name is Jonathan Broadbent. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode of